All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION this hour, where after days of protest, Donald Trump has now passed an order to withdraw the National Guard from Washington, D.C. The U.S. President Donald Trump has announced in a tweet that he's now ordered the National Guard to begin withdrawing from Washington, D.C. now that everything appears to be under control. The United States Armed Forces have remained apolitical even during watershed moments in American history, and top military commanders have always been extremely measured in their response to social issues in the country. But that, of course, seems to have changed in the last 2 weeks. Now, General Charles Brown is the commander of the Pacific Air Force, and he has been nominated to become the first ever black chief of staff of the U.S. Air Force. And this is what he's had to say about the killing of George Floyd.
I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd. I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. I'm thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality. I'm thinking about living in two worlds, each with their own perspective and views. I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in.
Now, another Air Force officer, Khalid Wright, has also tweeted in support of anti-racism protests across the United States. Wright has said that he was outraged on watching another African American die before everyone's eyes on television. The Marine Corps has decided to remove all public displays of the Confederate flag. The new guidance now says that the Confederate flag has been used by divisive forces at events such as the neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville back in the year 2017. Remember, Donald Trump had in fact come under fire for saying that there were good people on both sides at the far-right rally 3 years ago. And also retired four-star general and former commander of the U.S. Marine Corps, Robert Neller, has written an open letter to American citizens on the events that have unfolded in the last 2 weeks. He said, and I quote him here, "I cannot get out of my mind the lack of emotion on the faces of the officers. As Mr. Floyd said repeatedly, I can't breathe. To black Americans, your anger is understandable and justified. How many more black men will have to die for inexplicable reasons?" And also the widely retired generals such as John Kelly and James Mattis have also been outspoken on this issue. Now, they've also criticized Donald Trump for the way in which he has handled the protest. Interestingly, both John Kelly and James Mattis used to work very closely with Trump before having parted ways with him. Now, this might, of course, be the first time that American forces are speaking out on racism, but the U.S. military as an institution is in fact plagued by white privilege. 43% of all active duty personnel are people of color, but the decision makers are mostly white Americans. Out of the 41 four-star generals in America, only about 2 are said to be people of color. One of them is General Brown, the Air Force commander that we told you about. And in a recent poll conducted amongst active duty members, it was found that 36% of those polled and 53% of minority servicemen had witnessed instances of white nationalism or white racism.